At first, when you're an adult, they start thinking, what type of diabetes might you have? But once you've got like my symptoms and you've got a clear family relative, they're like, yeah, it's definitely type 1 diabetes.
So what tips you can give to so for example, what tips could you offer for friends, family, co-workers with person who has what type 1 diabetes? I think it's quite important to educate them on that, because if you work in working space with someone like that, you at least you can have an eyes on in case you can see the symptoms or something's happening, that you could go run up to them, like help them, like I said, maybe give Coca-Cola or something like that, you know, if the sugar level drops. So what tips can you offer? Like, what would you say to those people to educate them as well? To make
so many things.
Matter.
So the number one thing would be watch out for low blood sugar. That you could save someone's life, because if they don't get that sugar immediately, they could pass out, have a seizure, they could die. It could happen within an hour. So it is like so important for you to give them that sugar. And most type 1 diabetic people will have some sort of form of sugar somewhere, their bag, their handbag, a belt, their pocket, their coat pocket. So just that. I think another important thing is ask questions. If you know someone that's got type 1 diabetes, ask them questions. Don't give them advice because I've had a lot of advice from people that don't have diabetes, and that is actually quite frustrating, because I actually know quite a lot of how to manage it. And as a non-diabetic person, don't give a diabetic person advice. Just ask questions like, how can I help you? Or just ask open-ended questions just to learn more about them. I think it's also really, really important to also be aware of if that person has got high blood sugar, there were also consequences. Like somebody with, like when I've got high blood sugar, I get quite grumpy and irritable and really thirsty, and I've got a lot of symptoms. My vision goes blurry. There's so many things like that. And I think it's very important to be aware of both the high and the low symptoms, and to be flexible with your plans. There's a lot of times that I've had to delay something because I've got a high or a low. So it's important for non-diabetics to understand what the consequences are. And also always, if you're close to someone, whether you're a friend, family, your co-worker, anybody, just listen to them, because a lot of the time, I would sometimes want to talk to people about what's going on, because if I don't tell them why I'm doing something, they might think, well, why is she doing that? It makes no sense. But actually, it's a reason because of the diabetes. Like a lot of the time, somebody might say, oh, do you want to go for a walk? I'm like, it's a bit tricky to go for a spontaneous walk at work, because I don't know how much insulin I've got on me on board. And if I've got too much insulin and I go on a spontaneous walk, I'm going to go low. So then that's not going to work.
Realize this, even that, like that thing. Can you, do you take stuff with you in case like you need to, well, obviously you can't do spontaneous walk like you said, because you need to pre-plan this whole thing. But like if you wanted to go for a walk, let's say, the question just came to me, how quick you need to adjust your insulin before you do anything, like how the process, how long does it take?
I could go on a spontaneous walk, but I would need to eat something.
Right.
I might not necessarily be hungry. So if I eat something, then that might be just eating, but I have to eat. Normally, when I inject insulin, the effects of that insulin last 4 hours. But then there's also something called background insulin, which is something that's consistently in the background. And depending on how much of that you've got on board, that can also make you go low. So spontaneous walks will normally just mean eat more food for me. It doesn't matter if I'm hungry. It doesn't matter if I'm really, really full. I will need to eat more food so I don't go low.
Yeah, because you calculate everything. Like even today, you said you're going for a walk, right? So you had to pre-plan everything. Yeah. But still, you're living a life. You're like not making excuses and saying, how can I do this? How can I do this? I want to do this. How can I do this? So you're constantly asking, how, educating yourself. And that's a beautiful thing to show people that the more, because I also say to a lot of not only women, but men, we have to educate on ourselves with mindset or anything you want to do, but the fact like you've got so much knowledge, so people, I feel very confident people could come to you, you know, and ask you questions. And I know this is your passion. I know how much you care about people, how much you want to educate them. And tell me the story, because you told me this about, you know, we said everything happens for a reason, and tell me what keeps you going, like what is keeps you going, and like you look at this as a gift, I take it, and just tell me a bit about that, because I think this is so inspiring what you said to me yesterday.
So I don't, it's not like I wish I didn't have diabetes. Yeah, of course I wish I didn't have it, but at the same time I don't actually mind having it. That isn't actually the most popular thing that type 1 diabetic might say, but I think I have it for a reason. I think everything in this life happened for a reason. So God's given me type 1 diabetes and he wants me to do something with it. And I believe that the reason I have it is to help other people. I believe that I'm the sort of person that wants to learn, educate myself, to then be able to educate and teach, support, help other people. That's why I believe I have it. I've grown up my entire life knowing about type 1 diabetes because my dad had it. So my first memory in my life when I was 1 year old, it was a type 1 diabetes incident with my dad. So I've always known about type 1 diabetes, but now that I have it, I know so much more about it. I just want to help other people. But I believe I have it because it is to help other people.
So beautiful. And I love the fact you don't like blame anyone, nothing, you just accept it. Yes, it's for a reason, and this is like you're channeling through the journey and just helping people. That's such a beautiful thing. Is there anything else you would like to add and tell people? Anything you would like, would like to be told? I know you had your dad having type 1 diabetes, but like those people who have perhaps it's the first time happened to them and they don't have anyone around, they had to figure themselves out, or is anything like, if that was the case, would you like to know, or like what would you like to tell people? Like just whatever is you feel like, just get it out there.
Sure. I think if someone is newly diagnosed, the best thing they can do is try and meet other people with the same condition. Try and go to support groups, find people online. There's an absolutely amazing Instagram type 1 diabetes community. Everyone is so supportive, gives lots of tips to each other. It's really good to have a support network of people that actually understand what you are going through because they have the same condition as you. There's only so much people can help and support you when they don't have it. It's also obviously good to have a support network of friends and family, but they are never going to understand what you're going through like somebody else with that same condition. Literally find as many other people with the same condition as you, and they will really support you and give you so many tips. I also think if you live in the UK, try and get involved in as many courses, educational courses on the NHS as possible. There's something called Daphne, which is a 5-day course that teaches you loads and loads of different things, and you meet other people with the same condition as you. I did that course, it was excellent. There's probably courses in other parts of the world called other things. And then read as much as you can, read as many books, and read blogs and watch YouTube videos about other people as well that have it. Follow me on British Diabetic Girl, and you can ask me loads of questions. I really welcome questions. I love answering people's questions and trying to help.
Yeah, and just a reminder, everyone, we had Lucy, who's type 1 diabetes mentor and coach. So if you've got any questions, come to her, ask anything. She's very, very helpful. Lucy's always been very helpful, very thorough, very disciplined, and I learned a lot from you as well. So I'm very grateful for that. So it's so lovely having you here and sharing your story, being such inspiration. And I know a lot of people will take a lot out of this information, and a lot of people will be more aware what is type 1 diabetes, which is a very rare condition. Would you say it's a condition?
Condition,
yeah. So you still can live with it. You can still exercise. You can still do all the great things in life, you know, just all to do with a mindset and educating yourself. Is there anything else you would like to see, Lucy? Anything else before we wrap everything up? Is there anything else you would like to
No, I think that's everything. Yeah, I just want people to know that they can do everything that a non-diabetic does, you can do it with type 1 diabetes. There is literally nothing a type 1 diabetic can't do. The only thing is it just requires more planning, or just planning in general, being flexible with plans. It's really important to tell your friends, family as well, or people you're organising stuff with. Just tell people you have type 1 diabetes. I've never hesitated in telling somebody I have it. I know there's some people that fear the stigma behind it, but if you educate people around it, that is actually just, if you've got that gift, you can share and educate others. Literally, you can do anything you want. Just plan what you're doing.
Yes, I understand why the planning is so important now. But even to anyone's life, people should plan more. I know, including myself. But I know I do plan a lot, but it's just other things, you know. But you are very disciplined, very thorough, and have to be more than ever. So thank you so much for your time. This is actually a good time as well, because we did say about 45 minutes, right?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
No, I'm really pleased. I really appreciate your time. I'm glad this finally happened, you know, because we're like, when it's happening, but finally it's happened. So I'm very, very grateful. So thank you so much.
Do you have any questions that you think you might want to still know about?
Yeah, like this is the other questions that I've asked earlier. Was like, oh, how do you measure everything? Like, you know,
Right.
because, so I've noticed you have this thing on your hand, right?
Yes, I've got this on my arm.
Yes.
And I have this. Oh, no, it's on the inside. Where is it?
Yeah, it's normally on your right side, I remember, because I actually showed you.
I've also got a pump, which is connected to a wire to my hip here.
Right. So what does that do? Just
okay. So the thing on my arm here, I have to change this every 10 days. This is a continuous glucose monitor. And what it does is it sends my blood glucose to my phone and to this device every 5 minutes. So then I know at all times what my blood sugar is. I have alarms on my phone and on this other device if it goes too low and too high. So then this will prevent me from going too low and getting a hypo, and it will try and prevent me from also going too high. It can't prevent them 100%, but it will make me aware of it. There is also a bit of a time lag, but it's such an important piece of equipment, because this really does reduce anxiety and allows more freedom to do things. Otherwise, I used to have to finger prick my finger many times a day. And that sometimes can be quite inconvenient, but I still used to do it maybe 12 times a day sometimes.
12 times a day.
But that means I only get 12 readings a day. Whereas with this other device, I get them every 5 minutes. I probably check my phone maybe 30 times a day to find out what my blood sugar is. It's really helpful during exercise. And I can anticipate before I get too high or too low, and then do something about it. So that's what that arm thing is. Then this other device that's then connected to my side, that is called an insulin pump. And what that does, it delivers insulin to me all day, something called background insulin all day. Tries to mimic what a real pancreas does. And then when I eat carbs, I plug in how many carbs I'm going to eat on here, and then it will deliver the insulin. So this replaces me having to inject with needles, which I used to have to do on average somewhere between 5 to 7 times a day. Actually, no, I think I could do it about 7 times a day before. If I had
a notepad on the camera now.
Pardon?
On your camera, see, it looks like a sticky notepad is flying.
Oh no.
You can see now, as you can see now, it's fine.
I've got a little sticky pad to block the green light because it's so bright, and I don't like it on my eyes.
Fair enough, I understand totally. I can believe.
So yeah, this is instead of the
It's gonna give
it did it again. It's lost its stickiness.
It's like telling, like, right.
Should we re-record this bit?
I think I should. It's fun to also, like, you know, because it's real. Like, it's not like we go with the flow, you know? And sometimes I look at the signs like that. Maybe it's the time, because you said 45 minutes to make sure, because you said you need to take rest, right?
Yeah. Yes. Well, it's okay. We can do it a little bit more.
Good, okay.
Actually, the reason why I've got this sticky tape is because of the light. Actually, one of the things with diabetics is we have very sensitive eyes, and I have very, very sensitive eyes, and I'm very affected by lights. Even like the webcam light is really annoying to me, especially if my blood sugar is a bit higher than it should be. So there's a lot of side effects to having diabetes. It's not just the having to inject insulin and carb count. There are so many side effects to it, both short-term consequences and long-term consequences. So the management is all about preventing both of them. And with good planning, you can prevent all the consequences.
Yes.
Like my little sticky, my little post-it note prevents me from getting too many headaches with white lights.
You know, yeah, I mean, I can relate to bright lights. Like, there's something about me, I'm very sensitive to bright light. So when I teach classes, especially like with bright lights in front of me, I get headaches. I'm like, I need time out. And I get thirsty now. So some things you're telling me, like, oh, maybe it's just like, you know, but yes, I mean, I can definitely relate to not, you know, I know you use sensitive eyes, but like, I can relate to that because my eyes are super sensitive. But like, it has to be everything be dimmed. This is how I always been.
Yeah.
And I like dimmed lights, you know.
Yeah.
I just love it. It's just nice and chilled all the time. Candles and lights and everything. Oh, that's amazing. So is anything else on your mind? Because it's good that, you know, sometimes some conversations come out like subconsciously. Does that make sense? So you talk about something and you remember like, oh my God, this is so important. I really want to share that. Is there anything else keeps popping into your mind?
Well, there's a lot of things that I can still talk about. I mean, it depends. You want me to talk? There's one thing I think that a lot of type 1 diabetics get very frustrated with. Frustrated with. That's like a lot of misconceptions that people have around the condition. And that is, I think, what causes a lot of fear about disclosing that people have type 1 diabetes because of the misconceptions. Because there's a lot of judgment. When somebody says, I have type 1 diabetes, that I feel there is judgment by some people. I really wish there wasn't. I've had people tell me, and I've also had other friends be told things like, oh, well, you've got the condition because you led a really unhealthy lifestyle, or you ate too much sugar, and or they'll be like, oh, you can't have type 1 diabetes and be diagnosed with it at age 32 because only children get diagnosed with it. And these are all things that is like misconceptions that when people say it, I think sometimes we get into a bit of a defense mode. I used to. Now I just
don't take it personally anymore. This is your thing, like, you know. And there's also like friends, like my real friends, or like what?
It's a lot. It can affect a type 1 diabetic mental health so much. So for me, type 1 diabetes isn't just a physical condition. It appears to be a physical condition, but in my opinion, at least for me, it's 50% of a physical condition and 50% of having to manage mental health, anxiety all the time. And a lot of that is like a lot of the things of anxiety, as I mentioned, is either the low or the high blood sugars, or misconceptions, people's reactions. People then assuming that, oh, I'm eating maybe some dessert, and them saying, well, why are you eating dessert? Well, because I can eat dessert. Actually, a type 1 diabetic can actually do anything that anybody else does, including eating dessert, including eating ice cream. All we have to do is calculate those carbs and inject the insulin, and then manage a little bit afterwards. So if my blood sugar goes high, then I'll just do a walk or something afterwards.
Yeah, I understand where the misconception is, where it's like not educating people, because like people think, oh, so you got that because, like you just said, oh, because you've been eating too much sugar. So it actually can be either inherited or non-inherited. Like mystery can appear. It doesn't mean like because you've been eating unhealthily, whereas you've been healthy like ever before. It just happens. So that's what people need to, like when you said prejudging or like having assumptions. So it's not because of that. I can have it just as anyone. I'm just like, you can be living your life as you do, and just suddenly happens. with no reason. So people need to, I think that's
Yeah.
a very important point you made,
Yes.
because
Yes.
people like assume, oh, because of this happened. No, that's because you're not educated, don't understand it. So of course, like asking questions, because that's
Yeah.
very valid point.
I
So
absolutely
judge, like,
love it when a non-diabetic, even, or actually anybody, diabetic, non-diabetic, I love it when people ask me questions about how I manage type 1 diabetes, what type 1 diabetes. I just really, really, really feel privileged in that moment to help educate anybody on it, because then I feel, oh wow, now they're one step away from, one step closer to knowing a bit more. Yeah, I love questions.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's a very valid point. Like, because like some things I did not know about until I met you, So I had a friend who had that, but not type 1 diabetes. When she was pregnant, suddenly she had different
gestational diabetes.
Pricking your fingers all the time. I was like, since when? What happened? It's like, oh, it just happens,
That's even more rare than type 1. But then that's called gestational diabetes. There's like 5 or 6 different types of diabetes.
Yeah. So, and I was just like, okay, so I ask a question. So how does this thing work? Because I have no idea. I was like, what is this? Show me. This looks really cute. Like, what did you do? How often do you have to do it? Like, does it hurt? Like, I'm always like very curious. I always like ask questions, and then she kind of educated me like, oh yeah, because it happened through, and then she's fine afterwards. She had, she went through a difficult time to get pregnant and things. So, but it's just like, I was curious. I never prejudge people, because I had to say, because I get prejudged all the time, but without any illnesses or anything. Like, I just get prejudged as a woman, or being healthy, or carrying myself the way I am, because people look at the thing and like, oh, she's a bitch, for no reason. But instead of asking questions, oh, how's your life? How'd you get into fitness? Or how'd you just start doing this? So I understand that people assume you can't have even a dessert. It's like, what? I can have 5 desserts if I put my insulin.
One of the worst misconceptions I've been told was actually by a nurse who actually said to me, you're never allowed to drink fruit juice ever again in your life. And I was like, oh, okay. This is actually on the first day that I was diagnosed. I was like,
when you went to
okay.
emergency.
And then it turns out, that's actually like a medicine for me, because I need that when I'm low.
Yeah.
And actually, when I do exercise, especially cardio, when my blood sugar goes down, I drink diluted fruit juice always during that class, because otherwise my blood sugar goes just far, far too low, and then I can't drive home. So that's one thing that's quite tricky, is if blood sugar goes too low, it's illegal to then drive.
Wow.
And a lot of the times when I used to go to the gym before coronavirus, I'd go too low, and then I'd have to hang around and wait for like 45 minutes, even an hour, for my blood sugar to go up and be legal to drive.
Oh, wow.
So this is another thing that then takes a lot of time as a type 1 diabetic. It's like so many unexpected things just add to the time. But it's all about planning.
Yes, of course. Oh, yeah, it sounds a lot planning. And plus what you do, you say accountant, right?
Yes, I am.
Yes. So for you, it's kind of, you've got to plan, you've got to have a sort of structure all the time, right? And I have a question actually for you. How does caffeine affect you any other way?
Caffeine,
yeah.
That's a question. So I don't drink much caffeine at all. I might drink the odd green tea, black tea, 1 maximum a day. I've stopped drinking caffeinated coffee because I do feel that does impact my blood sugar. So there are some people that, even though there's no carbohydrates in coffee, for some people it does make blood sugar go up a bit. And for me, I think it makes my blood sugar go up. I get headaches and things like that. So yeah, there's some people that I've had need to take insulin when they drink coffee.
Because I love coffee, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm a
coffee lover,
I love coffee. It's so good. I drink decaf coffee now.
Yeah, also depending on the process, like they talk about decaf coffee, sometimes there's the actual process to do decaf is actually wasn't drinking coffee, but then you can't have caffeine, you still want to have coffee. I tried I don't know if you ever tried like a coffee alternatives. They have I remember when I was doing one of my programs, I couldn't have coffee, so I tried like barley.
Yes, I had that yesterday actually.
Oh yeah, and they've got, I can't remember the name. It's kind of like almost Spanish Latin names, like with the C, like something, chicory, something like,
Chicory, yes.
yeah.
Some chicory barley drink. That's exactly what I sometimes have
Be
as well.
good for you.
I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Sorry, you heard it.
I like that. I don't think that messes my head up or blood sugar up at all.
Yeah, and I have another question, because this is how the conversation happens. Please, at any point, if you need to go or rest, please let me know. So, do you speak fluently Spanish, right?
Yes, I do. My mother was born in Mexico.
Perfect. So I think it's important to know for people, if you are speaking English or Spanish, you can, because
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if anybody wants to send me a message in Spanish, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so you can explain everything in Spanish. So being on Instagram, what would be good to have a different flag? I don't know. This is I'm so, first of all, please forgive me. I just gave you my own sort of opinion or my own suggestion without asking if you needed one. But I think it would be very helpful in Instagram to tell people that you speak both languages, because if, let's say, I don't know, situation in Latin America or Spanish in Spain, how much education they get on this, it would be so helpful if they could have both languages, or perhaps like have a flag, so at least they know they can approach you if they don't understand in English.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Translate it, but like if people know, they think, oh my god, hola chica, please help me, It's like, does that make sense? Like people give a bit more confidence, thinking, oh my god, if you speak a different language, that was so helpful.
Yes, yeah. I should do that.
It's came to my head now. I'm sorry, just like threw that out to, like, you do what you like, but I think would really benefit people because of different languages. I think that'd be very helpful.
Yes. Great, thank you. That's
it's okay. It happens. I'm sorry, just because sometimes I find it like when people say their opinion without asking, it's different. But I thought it was an idea, and it's actually a helpful idea, because you do want to help people, educate them. So I think both languages, like, perfect. So yeah, it's so lovely to have you. I'm so excited.
It was great. It was lovely. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much. Really great information, great chat. To see, was chilled, relaxed.
Yeah.
You can have your fruit juice as long as you do your measurements and anything.
Do you know what? I'll tell you what. Do you want to know my preparation for this interview? How I manage type 1 diabetes So what I did was, I firstly I had a walk before we had this call, to make sure my blood sugar kind of stayed in range. But otherwise it would probably be a bit too high. So I like to do a walk before sitting down for a while. Mm-hmm. Then I had some water, because if my blood sugar is high, water helps bring it down. Ooh. Then I had diluted fruit juice.
Nice.
I was dropping. I didn't want to obviously have to then leave halfway through this meeting. So I bought some diluted fruit juice in case I started going low. And then I've got my hypo treatment. This is my liquid sugar.
Okay.
In case I did go low. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Which is really good, really handy. Although, if someone is low, sometimes this can actually be too tricky to open, because you get really weak.
Hard to open, yeah. So I have to ask. That's why it's good educating people. Say, could you help me? Because if you're so weak, you can't even do that.
Exactly. Or your vision might be so blurry that you can't even figure out where the top is.